he made some comments about FBAs, and I know he made a comment about how you was the wackest one in Brand Nubian, but, I mean, what's going on between both of y'all, man?
I mean, first of all, you know, his comment about FBA is kind of crazy because FBA is the one that put him where he is today. So you have to understand that it wasn't the Puerto Rican community or any other community that embraced Fat Joe. Fat Joe came up in DITC, which consists of mainly foundational Black Americans, you know, and he was the only Puerto Rican member in the group.
I remember that.
So it's kind of ironic for him to attack foundational Black Americans with his rhetoric. He sat there, you know, and as a white Puerto Rican, you know, he sat there and used the word nigga more than niggas used the word nigga. In a room full of niggas, and not a nigga said nothing. They just let him nick it up. And Math Hoffa and them is getting a little heat for that right now, too.
Which they should.
Starting right now, too. But I think it was uncalled for. First of all, it needs to be said that foundational Black Americans are not the foundational Black authority, as he said.
Right.
Is not an organization. It's a lineage. Either you're part of it or you're not, by lineage. Okay? How your ancestry, where your ancestry takes you. So, you know, there's about 48 million people that would be considered foundational Black Americans, and he's disrespecting all of them. There is no leader to foundational Black Americans. Tariq Nasheed is not the leader of foundational Black Americans. It has no leader. Again, it's a lineage. There is no organization called Foundational Black Americans. It's just what you are. So those are just to erase some falsities right there. It's not about being Black radicals or not liking people that don't look like them or, you know, who are not American. It's about honoring and preserving the things that foundational Black Americans have done. And many times people come in on the backs of what we have done as far as the civil rights struggle. These people flee their countries and then come here on the backs of what we do, but with a subconscious disdain for us. And some of them, not all of them, but some of them will work to undermine us. And those are the ones we call tethers, okay? And so when somebody who has benefited from the foundational Black American community, as far as your whole lifestyle comes from us, like you're famous because we gave you the thumbs up. I've said this before, Black people decide who sits at the cool table. And if we didn't want Fat Joe to sit at the cool table back then, he wouldn't have sat there. It wouldn't have mattered how much money you got and all of that. We decide. But since you came in with some people that we loved and respect, shout out to Lord Finesse, Showbiz,
OC,
Diamond D,
Big
rest
L.
in peace, Big L, OC. These are people that
gotta know about
gave you the
hip-hop.
cosign, so we was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? But, you know, they say get a person mad and you'll see how they really feel about you. You know? So when he was in there talking about broke ass niggas and all of that, like, let's be clear, he wasn't saying niggas as a term of endearment. Like, he was angry in that moment. So to be saying is kind of crazy.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Crazy work.
It's kind of crazy. And what I'll also say is, you know, it's kind of tricky to call people a black radical group and all this type of shit. Like, that's almost trying to like bring heat
Set us up
on people. You see what I'm saying? Because you got politicians and all out here that make laws and shit against that. They recently passed a law, something about black radical groups. And now to throw that out there was kind of, yeah, that was kind of crazy. Oh, and also what I wanted to address, right? Before we get to the part where he's talking about me, when he said, whoever these broke niggas is, right? All of this shit about, yo, your niggas is broken. Like, that's the new racism.
Real talk.
Okay? Like, classism and talk about niggas is broke. Like, the last I checked, Puerto Ricans in the Bronx is broke too. So what are we talking about here? Like, what's all of this taking on the oppressors' disdain for people that don't have money? Regular, everyday, working class people. And then you want to talk about racism, like people's being racist or discriminatory against you, yet you the first one to talk about these broke niggas. And a bunch of people do that. And to me, it just reeks of insecurity. It just reeks of, you know, because if you didn't have money, if you didn't have these things, would you really have, you know, all the people around you supporting you? Would you really have loyalty like that?